chairman is not here. I think he's not going to be here.
He's not on a
and
committee any longer.
Oh, did that change then?
Yeah, he's an
Correct.
alternate now.
Oh, got
So,
it.
So you can decide.
so who calls the meeting to order?
I would think you, Dave, only
Yeah.
because you have been on the meeting.
I'll do it, okay. So at 6:30, I'll call to order the policy committee meeting of October 17, 2021. And the first item on it is committee chair. Nominate and appoint a policy committee chair. Do we have any nominations?
I would nominate you, Dave.
We have a nomination and a second. All right, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None? Congratulations to me.
Congratulations, Dave.
All right, well, I miss Rick, okay. Minutes, approval of the minutes from March 25.
I move to approve the minutes from March 25th.
I second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I said aye.
Oh, okay. I am opposed. Okay, you can't vote on both. You can't vote both, but, okay, so that passes unanimously, the minutes are approved, and let's move to item 4, the agenda items, which are policy updates. We have with us Richard from Neola, our provider of draft policies. Can you hear us?
I can hear you great.
Excellent. And then Brenda, are we going to do like always and put them up on the big screen?
Yep, I have the first one right there.
Okay, and then for the new member here, remind us again, the green edits are the they're additions are those from Neola or from us or from the staff? Neola and the staff. Has the staff reviewed them? Yeah. And okay. Is there a place for people to find, were there any changes from Neola versus what we're seeing in the edits?
No, the time we would make changes in our ones, we have legal opinion.
Yeah. Okay. So so then there's all right. Good. So we're all on the same page then. Okay. Good.
So these are all Neola.
Neola gives a sample, and there are options. We pick one of their options, or we pick their language because we have to.
Yeah. And what we generally do is we tailor these to our district and our issues and concerns if that's available as an option to do.
So I think, Ted, just for clarification, there are Neola recommendations here, and that's what you'll see in green. But the administration made recommendations beyond Neola. How is that noted here?
It's not.
We never do.
They're already embedded in the policy.
Correct.
Okay. And then Laura, for your benefit, there are some policies that are kind of dictated by regulations and sometimes state law, and we're not able to amend those in any way or tailor them unless we find a typo, which we never do. And but there are some that are just recommendations from Neola that can be customized. And we often do customize and wordsmith these and go through in some gory detail. So we have a list, and what I think we'll do is what Rick did is I will start with the first one that's listed and see if anyone has any suggested changes. You both had an opportunity, members, to review these ahead of time, right? Mm-hmm. And so if you noted any thoughts, concerns, questions, proposed edits, etc. We'll go item by item here. So we'll start out with P0100 or PO 0100. The definitions have changed a bit.
I don't have anything here.
Nothing. I've got a question. I think it's for you, Richard. To the definition of relative, we are adding domestic partner, and
Correct.
which is which is understandable. Are there any places in the policies where the term relative, might be impacted? I mean, I guess what I'm wondering is it like, for example, on, releasing confidential information on the student? Is that open at all, or is that defined more specifically?
Usually that's, federal law, that's usually defined more, so we're talking about relatives sometimes about when board, again, conflict of interest, when board members
Oh,
are
got it,
voting
okay.
on things that would affect relatives. That would be an instance. Again, when there's a reference in the attendance policy for students, the student anti-harassment policy, I'm looking educational opportunity for children of military members. It's really, there are some other places too, but it doesn't show up very often, the idea, the term relative. More specifically, when we're talking about releasing records and so forth, the federal government is much more specific.
Got it.
About
Okay, good.
who can get it and who can't.
Yeah, because it's sort of a somewhat ambiguous term, but that's all I had. That was the only question. All right.
No, it's a good question. Again, it's almost a hangover from the old collective bargaining agreements where you would nail down what the definition of relative is with the union because of all of the benefits that would then accrue. But none of that's in policy here.
Yeah, okay. All right, the next one is 143.2, I think.
No,
No, 143. Sorry, 143, just 0143.
I'll be hiding there.
I guess I didn't understand this one at all. Why would you be, so in red, is this Neola suggesting to take this out, or who's suggesting to take this out?
So the old policy had an option in it to put the information in red into this policy. However, since then, more recently, this year in fact, a new bylaw that's referenced in green, 0143.2, is much more expansive and includes not only everything that it's in red that's taken out, but also is more expansive on terms of how individual board members get information and, the whole process of what to get. So what's in red is still correct, but it's just included in this new bylaw. So you're not losing anything, you're actually, individual board members have, it's more clearly defined and detailed that they get everything that's in red plus. So
I guess
what's in red is actually less than what your individual board members are entitled to according to bylaw 0143.2.
Okay, I guess I had a question on kind of along the similar lines because I'm just wondering if there's issues under, can we keep the red language as well?
Well, sure, you could. I mean, I would, yes.
Okay,
Should
I
we
think we
bring up
should.
143.2?
If you want it to be reinforced like that, sure.
I think it should be, just in case there's ever a confusion about whether something is a request for documents or whether it's a request to compile information. If there's ever a dispute about that, we don't want, we wouldn't want it to like linger for however many months it would take to have the board decide, in a meeting whether this stuff can be released or not.
Because isn't that all
Sure.
in there?
In policy, in bylaw 0143.2,
This is the act.
which is board member information requests,
It goes in like
A,
much
very
detail.
first thing it says in A is individual board members possess
Oh.
all the rights
Yep.
granted to them as citizens of the community, including access to public records.
Right, no, I get that, so I would just
Again,
like,
anything that anybody else can get, board members automatically get, and then board members can get more.
right, exactly, so I would still like to keep that the red in there so it's clear.
Sure.
Yep.
Anyone else? Anyone care?
I mean, as long as it's covering the other one, it's a kind of a weird policy, it's just this one little item. Anyway.
What you're going to have in the language, if you retain it, is that last clause that says,
Mhm.
which are required in the performance of their duties as a board member, which is a very ambiguous statement open to all kinds of interpretation. There's no doubt about that board members are entitled to everything that they're legally entitled to as any citizen would be, any public records. But it was considered by Neola to kind of be asking for a mess, which is why the other thing was redone, to keep that old language in there, because everybody has a different idea of what is required for them to do
Correct.
their duties as a board member. And
Right,
that becomes-
and I guess I'm
that
trying-
becomes tight,
Yeah, I'm
which
trying
is
to
why
keep,
the new bylaw was put into place.
yeah, no, I get it, I'm just trying to keep access as full as possible for board members, and, you know, I think there's and you could argue that this is somewhat limiting, because a board member would be entitled to more information than a member of the public. Right?
Well, you might want to put a period at the end of legally entitled, and then you would not have any ambiguity. I mean, I'm not an attorney, I'm not,
Yeah.
you are, I'm not, but,
Well, I'm not tonight, I'm just a board member tonight.
yeah, all right.
Um,
Well, you may want to put a period at the end of entitled, and then you're saying, no board member shall be denied documents or information to which they're legally entitled.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I would feel comfortable with that.
Yeah.
That to me is very clear cut.
Yeah, I
Okay.
like that.
I like that. Laura, you good with that?
Mhm.
All right. That makes sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
144.2, which is a deleted policy.
Yeah, cause that all moves, right, to 144.5?
I believe so.
Right?
Yeah.
I like didn't say it, but,
Everybody, right, yep. Everyone's good with that?
Not pretty much exactly.
yeah. Alright, last one.
144.3.
There's no difference between the bolded green and the non-bolded green, right?
No.
Like in our version, the way we see it,
Mm-mm.
No,
Okay,
it's
cool.
just your
it's just
resolution.
coming through weird, okay.
Okay, so 140, is this, what's the next one?
144.3.
144.3. Right, 144.3, okay.
This is just state statute.
Yep.
Yep.
I had a question on this one. As you may know, school boards are under increasing scrutiny from people who are perusing the policies and then accusing potentially or questioning whether certain things are kosher or not. So it says, B, this is a new one, no board member shall accept any offer of anything of value from a person either directly or indirectly, nor shall solicit or accept anything of value if it could possibly, I guess if it could be possibly expected to influence the board member's actions, okay? Is there what about campaign contributions? How would those fall into this, this policy? Because we certainly wouldn't want people to be accused of conflicts of interest for, receiving campaign contributions if there's an election coming up and they're a sitting board person, right?
Well, campaign funds are governed by a whole separate set of statutes.
I know.
And And where you run into trouble is if someone gives you campaign funds and you stick it in your pocket. Now this stat would apply, so that's why you have to set up a campaign account.
No, I understand
So if
that.
it's going into a campaign account, then you're okay.
And wouldn't it be your campaign,
Your treasurer.
Maybe,
Yeah,
maybe,
you're
unless you don't,
accepting
yeah, possibly,
your
but I mean,
committee.
what would keep somebody from arguing, you got a campaign contribution from a person, and that person, because they gave you the campaign contribution, is influencing your board members' actions, and therefore you're in violation of the conflict of interest.
Yeah, well, now you're into the Citizens United argument, which is the U.S. Supreme Court has settled that. And that's why I say campaign contributions that go into a campaign fund are kind of off limits.
I know, I guess what I'm trying to prevent is trouble, where somebody misreads this or doesn't understand that, a member of the public, and then launches a complaint, and then the administration, and this has happened recently, the administration's bogged down in dealing with an investigation that was unnecessary, and, just because someone's misreading something. We're in interesting times right now, and.
Now, I understand, you might want to talk to your attorney, to say, could we put in a clause in there somewhere saying, just talking about campaign contributions. Campaign contributions properly accounted for in accordance with the law are not considered to be are not considered under the conflict of interest law. Or it's not, I'm not an attorney.
Yeah, because they could be, right? I mean, if somebody could do that. They could say, hey, donate, whatever to my campaign, and I'll give you the contract. That would be a problem. I'm thinking just more along the lines of just preventing people from arguing that because they got a contribution from, I don't know, XYZ union local, that it's going to be a conflict of interest to accept it.
Yeah,
It's a valid point.
this policy is basically quoting the state statute.
Yeah.
So this is quoting the state statute. So if you want to go beyond that and start to qualify the state statute, sure, but be sure that you work with your school
Okay.
attorney to try and get the language right so that you're not rewriting the statutes. I certainly can't do that, and you shouldn't.
No, I get it. Okay, so is there any rush on getting this one in?
No.
So maybe we table this one, get that opinion.
Do you want that to come back to here once we get that opinion, or could we bring it right to the board?
Oh,
With that addition, right, if that's the only language change you want, and like.
If it's not a rush,
Instead of waiting for the next,
um,
because the next policy meeting is,
March.
Yeah.
so that's what I'm thinking. We can still
well,
run it by
and
you,
the
and get
rest-
you, we can still run it by the committee, and just make sure there's no
Mhm.
adjustments to the language and.
Just in a quick email.
can we do that without a meeting though?
Can we do that?
Well, you can give me
Individually?
feedback on it, say.
Individual feedback.
Yeah,
Yeah.
individual
Not
feedback,
discussion.
not reply all.
Just an idea if you want.
Yeah, I guess, if the attorney,
What would they,
I think
how would that
if
even?
they can turn this around that quick, it's already Tuesday by the time we call them.
Or I'm just thinking the next board meeting.
the next,
So it would be
yeah,
the
it's not an urgent, yeah, we could do
November
November.
instead of March.
Yeah, I can't imagine it would be anything controversial.
No, I
They're solving the problem, we could just run with it, yeah.
Yeah.
Instead of just adding it to the March policy.
Yeah,
just get it
okay.
November,
All right. 144.5. So this was this was tabled at the last meeting.
Yeah.
It was a new bylaw that was not adopted, it was tabled, and then there's additional recommended language from Neola.
Since then.
For this update, yes.
Yeah.
Which one are we on? Oh, 144.
Why did we table it again? Was it the cell phones? No.
So, yeah, this, I don't know, I don't know,
Is this the enforcement part?
I'm not sure why we tabled, I don't remember, but, I've got some problems or issues with it. I don't know if anyone else does too.
Yeah, I think so.
So, item H, I think the term policy decisions is too vague, and what we've been doing lately is taking public comment on, well, oh wait, I'm sorry, you know what, this isn't public comment at all. Endeavor to make policy decisions after full, okay, never mind, all right, I misread that, that's fine, H is fine. Although, policy decisions is vague.
Could I give you some background on this?
On H? Or the whole thing?
Well, the whole thing, this is not Neola language, so again, there's nothing special about this, whatever. This comes from the National School Board Association, and this was the board member ethics language that was all crossed out. So board member ethics was right from the Code of Ethics from the National School Board Association, as it says at the bottom. And what happened is, when this policy we're working on now about general expectations, the feedback in the past 6 months has been, oh great, now we have general expectations in 2 different places. One's under board member ethics and one's under board member behavior. Why don't you merge them so we only have to look in one place? So that's why the board member ethics, which was the National School Board Association Code of Ethics, just got moved over part and parcel to O1 to what we're looking at now. So all these H through whatever are just coming straight from the board member ethics one that was in your policy book already. Not to say you can't change it, but that's the background.
Yeah, well, okay. Was it the verbatim in our old policies?
That would take a
No, that's okay, yeah, I don't need it.
side by side comparison. That H is verbatim, yeah.
All right, so I guess in M, we're not even members of the National School Board Association, and I think they've recently engaged in some activity that some people don't appreciate. I would like to eliminate, so if we do, and we inform themselves about current educational issues by individual study and through participation in programs providing needed information, period. Why do we have to put those other two, WASB and this BA in there?
That was my comment on this one, that was
Yeah.
my only comment. I don't think it's kind of like plugs for
Should we take that part out?
Yeah, for the period after information.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that. And maybe I'm misreading H and K, but isn't it sort of redundant? Recognize that they should endeavor to make policy decisions after full discussion, right, at the board meetings, I get that. And then work with other board members to establish effective board policies? What am I missing? Are they just saying like committee and then full board?
That's a good question. Maybe it's saying we're supposed to meet in secret.
I know.
Well, that's open meetings law,
Yeah.
I think that
That's
just
weird.
doesn't make sense.
That doesn't make sense to me, like, I feel like it should be one or the other, or like combination. Cause I understand like the publicly held meetings is where we actually make the decisions. But then,
Yeah, we can't.
why are we also working with board members? I don't get that.
I think part of the issue you're looking at is in H, the word policy is probably throwing you.
It
If
is.
you took the word policy out, it would actually read, both of them would then read better.
So,
Because when you look at policy, you're thinking about actually passing policies,
Yeah.
and that's not what it's about. But the second one, K is, where it talks about effective board
so
policy.
K is about
So if you
policies,
took out
whereas
policy-
H is more about like district decisions. Is that what
Yes.
it's saying?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah,
So just take policy out?
I would, yeah.
Remember, wait, out of which one?
Out of
H.
H, cause H is supposed to be just, you make decisions at the full board.
Recognize that they should endeavor to make decisions.
Or should we say like district decisions, or? make. Probably a better way to say it, but.
Yeah, I know what you mean, districts, yeah, I know what you're saying. But I mean, yeah, it's goofy,
It's
maybe
goofy.
these are all goofy, I don't know.
I feel better taking away policy, it's just kind of
Yeah.
misleading, right, because we're talking about policy again, so.
And instead of
And these
discussion.
are really our policies.
Right,
Yeah.
right,
Right, yeah.
exactly.
After full, maybe not discussion, maybe consideration, because we don't always
We don't.
discuss. A lot of times we
do it in
say,
committee, we have a.
oh, that looks good.
Mhm.
Some things we don't discuss at all at committee meetings, we just say, oh, that looks good.
Mhm.
Yeah, thanks, move it to the full board.
Mhm. I mean, it's
That's
true.
not a full discussion,
Mhm.
but it is full consideration.
Yeah. I'm fine with that.
What do you think there, Richard? Are we just wordsmithing this thing?
We get picky, so.
No, I
We
think
do,
that-
we have 60 some odd
I
policies to
know.
go through.
Yeah, number three.
I don't know, I'm betting we're not gonna get through all of it.
Yeah.
And I just had one more.
I like that change, though.
I do
I
too.
think it reflects more of the practice.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I had the communication devices. I thought that we changed this to sound different, or maybe that's what we put around. 'Cause this was a new one in March, and then we edited it, whatever. We changed
Edited it.
Edited it. That's hard. So we changed it, but I don't know. I just wanted to take another look at this. Because I thought we had it so there'd be exceptions, and this is crossing it out again.
Which one are we
Right?
at? Where are we? Oh.
Board member use of electronic communication devices.
You thought what?
So this was new in March,
Yeah.
and then we had a conversation around keeping the exception for special circumstances, but now it's crossed off again.
Oh, I think it's all crossed out because we didn't want to do the cell phone thing.
We talked about adding it, I remember Rick said that. Mostly because he used me as an example, I had, important plans.
If you took out the prohibition language.
Yeah.
And you did that last time we met. So you took out prohibition from the title and then that two sentences at the end which concluded that therefore don't use your.
Right.
Yeah.
This is giving you the autonomy
So this
to use it.
got it.
Yeah,
yeah.
Okay,
It's
got it.
changes.
Okay.
So this is showing the change we had from last time?
This is the
Yes.
Ah.
striking out of all that.
Okay, got it, cool, okay.
I'm gonna read it.
Oh, yeah, okay, I get your question.
Yeah, this is supposed to be red right here, cause I'm in editing mode.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
sorry,
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
sorry.
yeah. Okay, cool.
It turns green when I'm editing, I don't know why.
Okay.
So, yeah, we took issue with is prohibited during board meetings, that last, we
Right.
wanted to have the.
So is the red showing what we took out in March? Is that what it's showing? On our side?
Correct.
Yeah, okay,
Correct.
cool, okay, got it.
Correct.
Okay. What else?
So we're good with this one then?
Yeah.
I've got, that changed, I've got some questions yet left on this one. What does O mean?
Worried?
Where's me, what?
Are we still on 144.5?
Yep.
Oh, yeah, we're reading from board positions for personal partisan gain, that one?
Yeah, what does that mean?
Oh, right here.
And how do we keep someone who's up for reelection from being accused of doing something for partisan push, whatever that means, personal partisan gain? I don't even know what that means.
Richard?
Help!
Yeah, so I asked this question of the attorneys, because I said, does it mean personal or partisan, meaning for personal reasons, or for partisan meaning like political reasons? And as they explained it, no, don't put the or in there. Personal partisan gain is a way of saying that for your personal financial gain.
Well,
I said, well, why doesn't it say financial gain? And the answer is because the language they use is personal partisan gain. So I said, well, It's certainly confusing to me, but now I'm glad I asked the question because I can answer it for you.
Yeah, that's good. So can we
Put
make
in
it
parentheses.
financial?
Sure.
Or,
I just don't want people to get.
It doesn't have anything to do with politics.
Exactly,
It's
but,
finance.
yeah, and I'm just concerned about members of the public going through and trying to play gotcha with people and not understanding what the thing means.
why don't we say what it means?
Yeah, say what it means,
Yeah.
financial.
So can we put it in parentheses, Richard, or strike that out and put in
I would
financial
changed
gain?
it to financial.
Oh,
Yeah,
I think just the
personal
way it is
financial.
there is fine.
Yeah, personal
Okay.
financial,
there you
okay.
go.
And
Okay, are we ready to move on?
Q. It says, remember always that their first and greatest concern must be for the educational welfare of the students attending the public schools. I'm not exactly sure what that means, but what if the public were to elect, I don't know, let's say some kind of taxpayer advocate who said, I'm gonna, I'm gonna cut the expenses, the district by 20%, and I want to, I want to, get this new, all new finances, whatever, boom. That person could well be accused of not putting this other concern first. And I know that's not the intent, but I'm just concerned about, again, what people are gonna cherry pick out of this.
I think it could be worded
Yeah.
better, but I like it in there. Right, 'cause
Isn't that, it's somewhat assumed when you take the oath of office?
Well, sure, and
For a
you would-
public,
right.
school system, you are going to be advocating for all
Of course.
students, staff,
And-
taxpayers, everybody.
And this
So it's
person
kind of-
would, right, and this person would argue, well, yes, I'm doing it for the well-being of the kids,
Yeah.
because we're trying to we're trying to build
I
fiscal
agree.
whatever.
I
I'm
agree.
just concerned, again, I'm concerned about people going through here and
Well, and I guess you
misreading.
could argue that it is the concern for the educational welfare, but a board member is really representing the community, so there's a balance there too.
It seems like the spirit of all the policies are to do what's in the best interest of all that you serve, which is
Yeah.
students, staff, community.
Yeah.
It seems
Yeah.
odd it even starts off with the word remember.
I know.
Yeah, that's.
It's really
I had to
weird.
reread that
Do
one.
we even need that one? I
That's
mean, what's the
You
point?
could probably strike it and be fine.
I like it, I think you're right, because striking me fine, I mean, I like it for the sake of like, we're all doing this,
It's a statement of the
For-
obvious. Yeah.
it's a little bit more
What you could say
flowery.
is, the primary concern of board members, should be for the educational welfare of the students attending the public schools.
I like that, yeah.
So the primary concern, so take out, remember
Yeah.
always that they're first and greatest.
Okay,
That
but that's
must.
not gonna be grammatically correct, cause all the rest start with
Oh, all the-
recognize.
Oh,
Okay, okay.
yeah.
Oh, that's why it's
Yeah,
remember.
there you go, Brenda.
How about, okay, we gotta come up with a new verb, right? So,
Ooh,
remember,
Recognize?
You
recognize.
can say,
There we
don't
go.
forget.
Don't isn't a verb. Yeah, what did you?
Recognize
Recognize.
that the greatest concern,
Of the
the primary.
Primary
Primary
concern.
concern.
okay.
You get grammar points for that.
That's a good change for Neola, Richard, to suggest. It just doesn't
Yeah.
make sense to start with something that
Yeah.
remember.
Yeah.
Just don't look at my, I know, just don't look at
I
my
agree
stuff.
with you, it's just that this comes from the National School Board Association.
Oh.
Oh.
They're dealing with it.
Ah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Right. My grammar is good and stuff. Alright.
Oh, yeah, we already went through enforcement.
So I've got another one, but I can't figure out where. Misleading. Let's see. Oh, shoot, I didn't do a good enough job.
There was a lot here.
Anyone else have anything while I'm searching for this word?
Cause we had gone through enforcement last time.
What word are you looking for?
Oh, I found it, okay. Board member communication. Oh, this isn't a change, but it did jump out at me, because just the stuff that's going on these days. So if you go down to board member communication, after the subparagraph B, board member who publicly communicate, board members who publicly communicate false or intentionally misleading information pertaining to board action or district policy. They asked to correct. Do we have a standard on like what that means? What is misleading information? Anywhere in the policy, like how do we define what that is?
Well, the last sentence in that paragraph says the board president is authorized. So what it really comes down to is the board president's decision.
Okay, so the board president communicates the request, which is a request, it doesn't, okay, to ask, correction, okay. All right, cool, that's fine. I guess if that becomes an issue and people are fighting over what's misleading or not, is that?
Well, it's not only misleading, it's intentionally misleading.
Right, but how do you prove that when you're just trying to like send someone a warning to stop saying untrue things, you know what I mean? All right, we'll leave it up to the president to figure that out. Anyone else have anything on
I do not.
144.5?
No.
Okay.
145.
145.
This one, we just moved the paragraph.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just moved the paragraph from the bottom to the top,
took
and
away
you
the
retitled
definition.
it, and the crossed out sentence was of no value.
Yeah.
Anyone have anything?
Mm-mm.
No? Okay, next.
67.3. Public comment.
So I wanna talk to G.
G.
Yeah. Of 167.3.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously this has been coming up a bunch lately in terms of public comment.
Mm-hmm.
And like, you know, for me, this reads as, it says legitimate jurisdiction, so is that defined by what's on the agenda? Is that what that means?
I don't think so. I think that means like.
Well, what that means is what the school board has control over. So if someone wants to get up and complain about, what's going on in Venezuela, this is not the time, or, the board has nothing to do with that. So it's more than the agenda. It's all topics that the board has jurisdiction over. But beyond that, no. So if you want to make a comment about what's going on in Afghanistan, don't come to a board meeting and make your statement.
Yeah, or federal tax policy that doesn't touch
Well,
on.
so like, obviously the examples we're dealing with right now, right, like people wanna talk about the mitigation efforts, and it's not a topic on the agenda, and so obviously they don't have an opportunity to speak to it. So, I mean, my thought is, can we have something in here that allows, like, if we want an open item of conversation, is it always an agenda item, or is it something where the board can say, or the president can say, you know, we wanna add this to the agenda as a topic of discussion,
Yeah,
because of so much, pushback from the community, or, it's been asked by the community, or because of it being shouted out. I don't know, I just feel like there's a disconnect there right now, and obviously it comes up a lot in our board meetings, that people feel like they don't have the opportunity to speak, and then they're not making it on the agenda as topics.
No, I think that's within the discretion of the, president and a different policy, I think.
It's different?
I think so,
It's
yeah.
not the
Because of,
policy.
Well, yeah, if you look under agenda item, and it's in this policy, and any person or group would like to have an item put on the agenda,
Yeah.
right? And then it goes A, B, and C.
Yeah,
Then there's, and such request shall be subject to the recommendation of superintendent and the approval of the board president.
yeah,
yeah,
So that would get to what you're asking, right?
Yeah.
To get an item on the agenda for
Yeah.
public comment. That's-
yeah, what G is just that you can't.
just like do random stuff.
Yeah, you
Yeah, you
can't be expected to, things, you know, that are outside of our jurisdiction, stuff we can't do.
Yeah, for sure. I guess for me, it's still like this weird, I just feel like there's a disconnect there, right? Cause like, if the community wants to talk about something and it's not making it on the board agenda, and it's technically within legitimate jurisdiction of the board, like, then really they can talk about it. Or no.
No.
The board president would have to approve
Yeah.
it to be on the agenda to be discussed.
I think that's covered under A here,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
I
sounds
don't
like
know,
your
I mean,
question.
I'm trying to maybe address something that's not to be addressed here, but.
Probably.
I
Probably,
think
yeah.
what you really wanna do is under A, to make it clear, because that's not the way I'm reading it, but you would wanna say, public comment shall be permitted on any agenda item as indicated on the order of business.
Well, right, cause it doesn't say that there.
No, it's,
It, as indicated on the order of business means where within the meeting's agenda is the public comment period gonna be placed. Some people put it first, some districts do it last, some people
Oh.
put it, you know, underneath each action item. Anybody wanna talk about this? I mean, so there's all different ways of doing it, but you don't have anything that really says people can only talk about agenda items.
right, it's up to the discretion of the board president.
Cause we've been saying that people can only talk on agenda items,
Well,
and is that in our
items for
policy?
recommendation, it's items for recommendation.
And is that what's in our policy?
That's at the board president's discretion.
It just seems like there's something missing here.
Well, I think what's
again,
missing, yeah, is like,
What,
when you have a,
what this is supposed to be saying is that you're going to accept public comment during the time period shown on the agenda, or if the board president, if in the midst of talking about something else, you realize that somebody wants to speak or somebody has something worthwhile to say or some expertise, you could kind of like say, okay, as a presiding officer, I'd like to recognize, you know, so-and-so in the audience, just to get their take on this. And it's past public comment period. That's what this A is supposed to be about. As soon as the board president or the presiding officer can choose which things to allow and which things to not allow, other than the jurisdiction piece, you're gonna get into a whole legal argument about viewpoint neutrality that you don't wanna be at. So you need to either say on agenda items only, or
action items.
the way it is now, it's across the whole, you know, anything under the jurisdiction of the board, which is wide open to anything educational in nature. But the discretion of the presiding officer is only about when the person speaks. In other words, it's gonna be during the public comment period, or at another time if the presiding officer says, yeah, time out from the board talking to itself, we wanna listen to so-and-so about this.
So that's, you're saying that's in the
That's
moment?
what it's supposed to be.
And it's a when, not a what? Is that what you're saying?
Mhm.
So it sounds-
So, public comment shall be permitted as indicated on the order of business. You could say on, to make that clear if you need to be, as indicated on the meeting agenda. That's what the order of business means. And or at the discretion of the presiding officer. It's just talking about the time at which people can speak. Some boards allow people to speak on each agenda item when it comes up. Most boards like to have a public comment period at the beginning and then everybody be quiet while the board does its business. But if you do that, everybody be quiet, let the board do its business, you always have the option of the board president saying, oh, I see that so-and-so just walked into the meeting, good timing, we were just talking about this, we'd be interested in what you do about this. So that allows you to let someone speak outside of the public comment period.
Mhm.
If you want them to be only on agenda items, this is where you would put it. Public comment shall be
Right.
permitted only on agenda items.
But that's currently left up to the board president, because what we've been doing lately is getting comments on action items. Because we don't have to take public comment, right?
You do not, but if the board presiding officer can pick and choose who's
Oh,
going to
right,
get-
yeah, exactly, yeah, we're not doing that. It's on, we're taking public comment on action items, so we can get comments on the action items.
Sure.
Rather than having like open mic night or whatever, it just makes more sense.
All I'm saying is what you're doing is not reflected in your bylaws.
No.
So you might want to write it down in your bylaw just because of what you said. Where does it, if someone says, where does it say that I can't speak about such and such? Because in this bylaw it says, as long as it's within the jurisdiction of the board, I can talk about it.
Can you
And you're
say,
telling me I can only be on an action item. I think you'd want to put that action item language into this policy.
Well, I think the way I read it is the policy gives the president that discretion. That's our understanding. Because we might not want it to be a policy, to just have comments on action items. At some point in time, we used to get, random comments from time to time. We might want to go back to, you know what I mean? We shouldn't have to change the whole policy, right?
can we add on to G and say unless otherwise noted on the agenda, something?
Well,
I don't know
cause he's saying
if
like.
we need to mess with anything.
Well, he's saying the when, right? Public comment shall be permitted as indicated on the order of business. So he's saying,
Where it is on the agenda.
Where it is on the
That's what
agenda.
he's saying, that's a
Exactly.
statement, yeah.
yep.
And-
And then it says anyone can speak during the public portion. And then it also says they can talk about any legitimate jurisdiction of the board. So nothing in here says that people cannot speak on topics that aren't action items or recommendations. Which I prefer to keep, but.
But that's
I'm-
not where we would,
But this is public comment, so wasn't this where this would go?
this would be the scope of it, right? Well, it could be permitted. This would be like what the president can do.
It doesn't say that.
No, add on to G.
So Richard, what, are you tracking on this? What would be your recommendation? Right now, it's my understanding, even Robert's Rules of Order, it gives the board president the authority to determine,
When it's happening. And
whether
what?
they're gonna take comments on, or not. Cause I think in another policy, if it's not this one, we do have another, no, I think this is it.
Yeah.
So, do we need to be more specific, or to Dave's point, can we leave it, more general so the board president has the discretion?
Because it says, if you look at agenda, I see,
It
so.
doesn't say anywhere, does it? I mean, I'm not seeing
It
it.
says any group would like to have an item put on the agenda, okay,
Yeah.
so then they go to the president and the president on the thing. To permit fair and orderly expression, the board may provide a period for public comment at any regular special meeting and publish rules to govern such participation in meetings. So we may, we don't have to. The presiding officer of each meeting shall administer the rules, okay, the presiding officer shall be guided by the following rules. Public comment shall be permitted as indicated in the order of business, which would be the agenda, and or at the discretion of the presiding officer.
Mhm. So if he wants to do extra.
Yeah, I think,
So what that really means is, public comment shall be permitted as indicated on the board's meeting agenda and or at any other time at the discretion of the presiding officer.
Right.
That's what it's meant to say. It's strictly about when during the meeting people can speak. It has nothing to do with who can speak or what the topics are.
Yeah,
so then where is that?
that's what this says. But there is nothing that says that you cannot speak on something that's not an agenda item. I'm not seeing that in here, anywhere.
Right, so if you want to change that, that's where you need to say, participants shall only address topics, and then you could say that are listed on the meeting agenda, or that are action items, or however you want to do it. Right now, you've taken, the broadest is, you can talk about anything, it's open mic night. You
Because-
didn't choose that. You
yeah,
wanted to
'cause-
the next one down saying, well, you can talk about anything as long as it's related to education that we can do something about as the Cedarburg School Board. But you have not gone further in saying, we don't want to hear about this, all this stuff. We're here tonight to talk about these things, and we are accepting comment about these things only. And that's a decision that you can make, and everybody makes that decision differently. Every board does.
So, right, so where is that? I think that's Kristen's question.
It's not here.
Because it says, under public comment, it says to permit for an orderly public expression, the board may provide a period for public comment. Okay? Publish rules to govern such participation in the board meeting. So would one of the rules be what you can speak on?
Yes.
It would have to be.
G is what your rule is. G is the what you can speak on.
Yeah.
Not a,
So
well,
if you want to say only topics on the agenda, or only
need to.
topics that are up for action at the meeting,
Yep.
you can narrow that scope. Right now, you have it as a broad scope.
I'm reading the first. I'm
The
reading this
agenda is
different.
separate, like, that to me is separate, like, anybody in the public can ask for an agenda item, cool. Public comment section says you can talk about anything. It doesn't say you can only talk about something that's been added as an agenda item. And it doesn't say you can only talk about something.
But it, right,
that's
but
up
it
for
says,
recommendation.
but it says the board may provide a period for public comment.
For the rules, but these are the rules.
Right, but it may provide, right, okay? The providing officer shall be guided by these rules.
Yep.
So if the board may or may not provide a period for public comment, doesn't that mean that it can provide a period of public comment on, whatever, only on action items, on open mic night, whatever kind of period of comment it wants, subject to the following rules that the presiding officer should follow, and that's A through
You could make a
whatever.
rule that says the rules determined for the meeting, I guess.
Right, add on
You
to
know-
G,
Yeah.
the jurisdiction of the board unless
The state
otherwise
says
noted on the
that-
agenda. I don't know.
Right.
I think we're missing something here, because are we supposed to be reading this with nearby policies? Cause I can't, let's see.
Cause I don't know if G
It seems like there's something missing.
encapsulates that, yeah, like I just don't.
G's just
see
like
that.
the scope, it's like, yeah,
Within the legitimate jurisdiction of the board.
There are two different policies mixed into this one. One is how does the community member get something considered to be placed on the agenda? That's part A.
Mm-hmm.
Whole separate section then, in the different section,
This is the comment.
what about for people who want to speak at a meeting?
Yeah.
Now, the state says you do not have to allow it. You can allow it or not allow it.
yep.
Mhm.
The way you've written this bylaw says that you may allow for it at any special or regular meeting, which means each time you create an agenda for a meeting, you are making a decision as to whether you are notifying the public that, yes, we will accept comment, or no, we won't accept comment by not having any public comment period. So that's the may provide for it says, because you have to tell the public. So when you publish the meeting agenda, when you give the notice, the open meeting notice, you're indicating if there's a public comment period. Now, right now, your rules say that anybody can speak, any staff member, resident, or parent can speak on what's a legitimate jurisdiction of the board. If you wanted to, and you wanted to have it a little fuzzy, you could actually say, shall address only topics as indicated
Yeah, on the
with
agenda
each,
with recommendations.
on each agenda.
Mhm.
Because then on each agenda, you could actually say, we are accepting comments only on the agenda items, we're accepting comments on the action items, we're accepting, comment on anything you feel is important for the school board to hear. You could literally, meeting by meeting, make that decision. If you change this bylaw
Yeah.
to say, the board president has flexibility to determine. But that determination has to be made before you publish the agenda, so
Of
that
course.
people seeing the agenda of the meeting have fair notice of
Yeah.
what they can talk about
Right.
in a couple days or next week, at
Yeah.
next week's meeting.
So I think that it all is assumed in the opening paragraph of the public comment section, but I do agree that if we could clarify that, it would make it a lot simpler. So what are we?
I would say legitimate jurisdiction of the board or on topics.
No, not or,
Seconded.
as,
Or otherwise
Right.
noted on the agenda.
it would be as,
Or as.
or as otherwise, right? Because we want to be able to pick open mic night, agenda items
Yep.
only,
Yep.
action items only,
Yep.
no comment at all,
Yep.
whatever, any of those options, right?
Right.
And then you've noticed the agenda with whatever option we're gonna have that,
Yep.
for that meeting, and that's what it is. Does that work, Richard?
Yes, that's perfect.
So wait, so again, legitimate jurisdiction of the board, we have jurisdiction over any topic within the district, so doesn't that still allow for anything open?
No, if we add to that, right, we're gonna add.
We
we're
have
gonna add your
participants
language.
shall address only topics within legitimate jurisdiction of the board,
And then you were gonna add to your comment.
or as otherwise noted on the agenda.
Or as other, yeah.
But doesn't that still say that they can talk on anything? Cause
Only
don't we
one-
have
Or
legitimate
as-
jurisdiction?
Or as topics otherwise noted on the agenda?
Or
Does
as
that make
to-
more sense?
Maybe I'm not understanding the
Or as
definition here of
on
legitimate
topics?
jurisdiction.
So legitimate jurisdiction is something that.
Not just on the agenda, that's anything
That's
that's.
anything that's
Correct.
within the bounds of our authority.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that means that I can come to the meeting and I can talk about anything that's related to the board's authority.
Yep, yeah,
I think
or
you're
unless
right.
the,
Or only topics.
I don't wanna eliminate it, but I'm just saying, that's what it says.
unless the topics are otherwise, unless the agenda says something else. So you get the full,
Or on
we have
Or
the.
as topics, or as noted on the agenda.
Or on topics otherwise noted on the agenda?
No, or only topics.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, how do you, I see
Yeah.
what you're saying, yeah.
So, it's only topics within the legitimate jurisdiction of the board, or only topics otherwise noted on the agenda.
Okay, yeah,
Got it.
I,
I think that,
That, yeah, that gives
Well,
you the
now,
greatest.
is it clear that that's an either or and not a both?
cause to me it's both, yeah.
It sounds like a both.
It's both.
And we want it to be either or.
So, and I don't know that I would say otherwise noted on the agenda, I would probably say as otherwise noted under the public comment section of the agenda, because that's where we are very specific as to what they can comment
Right, that's
on.
right, yes.
So, for example, the meeting that's coming up, we're talking about the budget hearing, you know, that's occurring, and then we have to take action on the budget, and we're going to say on our agenda that comments on the budget will be heard at the budget hearing, but not when we take action on the budget. So we're noting it, so.
Right, so
We're gonna take action on
the
B
public
through
comment section.
J instead of A through J, so I probably would make it specific, because that's where we state on the agenda what they can comment on.
So,
you know, Brenda, maybe what we wanna say is participants shall address only topics noted under the public comment section of the agenda, or if the board permits,
Okay.
other topics within the legitimate jurisdiction of the board. So in other words, you're trying to, because the reason it's goofy now is because, we're doing the universal topic first and then trying to restrict it. It's a lot easier to start with the restricted topic and then expand it to universal.
That sound right? Children shall address only
And
topics.
then take out
Yeah.
the other topics right there,
Noted, take out otherwise also.
Topics noted under the public comment section of the agenda, or if the board permits topics within the legitimate jurisdiction of the board.
And is it the board that permits topics, or is that the presiding officer? Because that's how it.
No,
The president,
oh, yeah,
the president is the one who generally has the authority.
or under the
Richard?
public agenda.
Yeah, that's okay.
No, it should be under the agenda, because the presiding officer can't change it during the meeting.
But to me, that
Yeah,
sounds
you're
like
right.
they can.
Good
Yes.
point.
But
Otherwise
I
you
thought
get
he
a
said
notice
that
violation.
he can, he was mentioning that earlier, like, if someone came in and he.
As long as it's
wanted
on
to
a
allow
topic
them.
that's noticed for comment.
Yeah, outside of that, right?
I don't think you can outside of that, what's noticed, because otherwise it'd be an open, like a public
Right.
notice.
You could
violation.
probably remove that whole second part of that and just say, put a period after agenda.
Oh, well, okay,
Because on each agenda, you're going to say what you're going to permit the public to comment on.
Cause they can't comment on anything else, right?
Right,
Cause we wouldn't have given notice.
right. It'd be a,
Right.
yeah,
And
it'd
then
be an
if-
open record,
if,
open meetings violation.
But I mean,
Well,
like,
in the past, they.
that's the spirit of the comment section, that
Yeah.
if I'm a resident and I have something that's upsetting me, or I wanna bring it to attention of the board, I come to the board and I talk about it.
Sure.
Granted, it's been
Wouldn't that
a,
be on the agenda, open
We'd have
open
to add it.
discussion?
Yeah.
It would
We'd
be
have to
an
add
We'd have to
item
put it on.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'd say any items of
Yeah.
interest, yeah.
I mean, that's how we've been treating it, we've been treating it like this,
And-
right now.
Yeah, and I think it's accurate, I just don't think it was written well. I think we're doing it right.
does that sound right, Richard, or should I take this last part out too, and end with agenda?
I think you'd wanna end with agenda personally, because on each agenda, you're going to say how expansive you're going to allow the comments to be.
Correct.
And we could just always put on there, if we want it all.
Yep.
Right
Yep.
across the board, we could say anything open to our
Yeah,
jurisdiction.
like a section for open discussion.
Right. Oh, I got rid of that period, I went.
Okay. Wow, good catch, I didn't notice it.
Yeah.
Dave, I would recommend that under letter B, we add students. Any staff
Oh, yeah.
members,
Oh,
residents,
absolutely, yeah.
I think we can put students in there.
I think you're probably gonna want, Todd, some boilerplate language for your public comment agenda section. So when you list what people can talk about, you're probably going to like, okay, let's throw everything in this time. So that would be
Right.
items on the agenda,
Yep.
you know, action items on the agenda,
Yep.
anything under the legitimate jurisdiction of the board. But maybe next meeting, you're only gonna put A down.
Correct.
So
Yeah.
you'll probably wanna think through those categories,
Yep.
and you'll just kinda drop them in as you decide why you wanna open public comment for that period.
Yep, that's what we're doing now, Richard, yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, okay.
Are we moving on?
Is that six?
Yeah.
No, we-
You've gotten
Linda,
through
when you
how
pull
many?
down,
We need some power bars and gels, don't we?
I'm
Yeah,
here,
yeah,
we
yeah.
have.
and then you keep going down, and where it says 1, 2, 3 at the bottom there, that should really be ABC.
Thank you.
So what's in the green is the new language at the bottom of that policy,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Ooh, good catch, that wasn't even a change.
I know.
that I really
That's a good
looked
one.
at, so.
Okay, then,
All right.
since there's been nothing on tonight, okay. Yep, all right.
So we added some the signage piece in K.
Yeah.
And we put some language in there about,
Oh, yeah.
just sticks or poles, because that's something that's come up in other board meetings, and it makes sense just for safety.
Yep.
Oh, we're not even doing that.
Uh-uh.
All right.
All right.
I think I'm good
171.1.
until 174.
Okay.
Oh, that's not.
Are you a unified?
We
You
are.
are a unified district,
Yes.
yes. That's why we took out the mention in the annual meeting, that's all.
Yep.
Oh.
All right, so 174.2 is a deletion.
There's no reason for that anymore. DPI's changed its regulations.
All right. Anyone have anything in the 1100s and the 1000s?
Wait, do we,
Oh, sorry.
are we on 174 point, okay.
Yeah.
No, that's fine, okay. 1,000?
One, like, oh, yeah,
Okay, I
1130.
just had a question, okay, administration. Oh, no, my only question, and this was more, so for all these on 1422, when we list Conrad and Kristen, is it gonna, I mean, it sounds like a silly question, but so are they always scheduled that someone is always there, that they're never out the same week or anything? Because that would be a problem.
I can always take a complaint on as well.
Does it
and
say that?
acting as a compliance officer, yeah. There is a line in there, in fact, you know, I'm looking
Yeah, I
at this
think we
right now.
addressed that before, actually, yeah.
Okay.
The superintendent has jurisdiction to do that.
Okay,
Yeah.
I was just asking
Yep.
that.
That's a good question, Laura.
And another question I had, and these kind of address all the harassment ones, was we say, we say, you know, if a respondent upon request wants a, complaint. I mean, why wouldn't we just hand him or her?
Which policy are you?
It was in, I gotta find this now, 1422. This is a long one,
Yeah. So what's the reason for these changes, Richard, in 142202?
This is all the Office of Civil Rights as well as the state, you know, revised a lot of the regulations and the court decisions that have come down through it, so they are now saying this is what you must have, or in order to indicate that you're providing full rights and notification of full rights to your employees and your students.
And do
And
we,
you can't mess with any of this.
Alright.
yeah, exactly.
Okay.
I mean, you can ask questions, but sometimes the answer is because that's what a judge decided.
Yep.
I had a question on the confidentiality portion. You ask them, or you inform everyone that this is confidential? I mean, is there any way they could sign something that they've been told that it's confidential? I'm just asking, I'm new to this, so. Cause saying it, oh, don't tell anyone is one thing, but actually having them possibly sign just a statement that I've been informed this is confidential. It was just a thought. But if this is just all the legal language, I'm okay with it.
Yeah, generally when we go through an investigation, we provide them with policy. So they know what the policy is and and we review it so they know that it is confidential, but we don't have them sign off on it, Laura.
I sat on a jury trial
Yeah.
and the judge tells everyone it's confidential and I was shocked we get into the room and everyone starts talking about it immediately.
So much for confidentiality.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm okay.
The 1422.02 is, I was trying to read through that and I think my head was like
Yeah, I think that's what we can't change.
floating, and we can't change it, so that's fine, cause yeah.
Are we still on administration?
So let's go to, yeah.
Where are we at?
Does anyone have anything more on, before 1623?
I do not.
No.
1623, is that the same, Richard, we can't do anything with it?
That's correct, yep.
And it's for the same reasons?
Same reason, this is all part of the disability law, and it's been big chunks added into it. Ted was not happy about this, but, this is now where, the state of where things are at.
Well, there was something about like a training section was removed in, under compliance officers, and then the training section was removed. But that doesn't seem right, cause we would train, right?
I think it's put in later.
Is it put in to just move and I just didn't see it?
Yeah, it's after retaliation. I think it is. It says education and training,
It is.
it's very short.
I was trying to find it, yeah.
Yeah, there it is, education.
Where is it?
It's a tiny paragraph.
About 3/4 of the way through, it's in the green section at the bottom.
The bottom?
So you define retaliation as a bold, and then,
Oh, I see retaliation.
and then it says education and training, there's a.
Oh, I see.
There it is.
They move things around because, again, how it reads and where things are placed, as we just had the discussion with that public comment policy, actually makes a difference in how things are interpreted.
Oh.
So they try and get the placement correct.
Alright. 1662?
1662.
$16.62, is that where we?
Yeah, there was something I had in here, where was that? No definition. What the heck is it? My chicken scratch. Right, something about a definition. Oh, the community. Purposes policy, so we struck that out last time, right? School district community needs and control and supervision of the board. Did we take that out, or did that move?
Which was that?
That, the fourth paragraph at the beginning, it's struck out about what the school
Oh.
community is.
This part, Richard,
Yeah.
here.
Did that get moved, or did that get removed? Do you know anything about that,
Our
Richard?
school district community,
Like they're defining the district?
if you look under definitions, down about 5, 6 more paragraphs, it's listed now under definitions.
Right here.
They put in a whole new section about definitions.
Oh,
in school
I
district
see.
community.
And then I think they reworded it too then. And students and board members,
Yeah, it looks shorter.
agents, volunteers, counselors, and control listeners to the board. Okay. I was just curious.
They had school district community and third parties, it said for the purposes of this policy, and instead they took those out and they put in a whole section with definitions for those two things as well as other.
Oh, I see, they
terms.
separated them.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, yeah, okay. That's all I had.
I had for that one, do we have to include the section of harassment also includes hate speech? Isn't that included under harassment? I just think that's such an open-ended term.
Yeah, I had that too. It's not defined and it's extremely subjective.
Well, they do give examples.
Yeah, they're subjective examples.
Promoting violence.
I feel it's very just subjective in today's environment. And to tell someone that, they used hate speech, that's just very strong language. And it's included under harassment, so why do you have to add that in?
I mean, yeah, technically, right, because harassment would be prejudice
Yeah,
against a group.
it's already included.
Why did they add that? Why'd they call that out separate? Richard?
Well, because there are so many places that have laws and it's becoming, hate speech enhancers and all of that. If you would like to take that out, I would just double check with your attorney because it's in all of the anti-harassment policies have that same, definition with examples.
Well,
And if you want to take that out, just make sure that,
Yeah.
that your attorneys say that you're on good solid ground to do that.
Yeah, because I think it's not defined, and to the extent that these examples are provided, they're extremely subjective, and again, we don't want any kind of harassment or, bad behavior going on here, but we also wanna focus on education a bit, and we can't have these ambiguous potential areas of complaining. We have to define them.
Yeah, well, they tried to define it there, it says hate
Yeah, they
speech is
failed.
the use
I
of
think A
language,
is pretty
behavior, or
specific.
images, symbols that express prejudice against a particular group or groups on the basis of any protected characteristic. So the protected characteristic are those federal characteristics and state,
Aren't those federal?
That's the federal
religion,
definition.
Yeah.
disability, the whole long list of protected characteristics that is
Yeah.
indicated above.
Exactly. But whether something expresses prejudice, we have to look at that.
Okay.
So So what do you want us to look at, whether we should?
Whether we can eliminate that word because it's, that paragraph, because it's already included.
Which word, the one
The
says
paragraph
what?
that says harassment also includes hate speech, which obviously is already up there. And then then sub A and B, and if we can't delete it, I think we have to define it. I think this is just too subjective and unhelpful.
So we're gonna, and you want the definition, just so I'm clear, under what hate speech is, or like under A, making statements that promote violence toward a
Okay.
racial or ethnic group?
Back up again. We wanna know.
No, the definition is above. It says the use of language, it's what's highlighted there.
Yeah, I get
Right
it.
after the word hate speech, it says
Right.
the use of language, behavior, or images, symbols that express prejudice against a particular group or groups on the basis of any protected characteristics.
Yep.
And protected characteristics is defined in the second
Examples.
paragraph of this policy, all the way at the top.
Right. So we wanna know is if we can eliminate that paragraph that says harassment also includes, and then the examples. And if we can't, then we need to figure out how to define it in a way that is helpful. And
Well, what's the point of removing it if they're protected anyway?
what's the point of having it? I think this creates a potential for,
I mean,
It's already in harassment, everything in there, so I don't understand. And I've been told, I don't know legally, that that's at a different level than harassment. And so we have to be really careful with
Correct.
accusing someone of hate speech.
Hate
That's a-
speech and harassment are separate things.
Where's, Laura, where does it say? I just wanna make sure I'm tracking on, where do you say?
they're
it's
saying
already-
harassment includes hate speech.
When you say it's
Right.
already in there,
That's
Laura,
Well, I mean, everything above where I,
starting at the top where it says prohibited harassment, you're talking about.
right, in this whole,
Go all the way up, Brenda. Keep going, all the way, so starting there, you're thinking it's covered in there? Just wanna make certain.
yeah, I mean, you know, when it goes into the board will enforce its prohibition, I can't even talk against harassment based on race, color, national
It's
origin,
all
age,
listed, I
sex.
see what you're saying.
I mean, it's
All-
all there.
we could add protected, anyone, on the basis of a protected characteristic it's all there. So that's the question. Which of these policies does it affect? So it'd be,
The problem you get into is that hate
1662.
speech isn't necessarily directed to an individual.
and. So you got
Hate
16.
speech is just in the 4 anti-harassment policies.
Yeah.
So this one in administration, which is 1662, it's also added into the professional staff, 3362,
Right.
the support staff, 4362, and then the student anti-harassment, 5517. Those 4 policies are pretty much identical, and they all have the new hate speech language.
Okay. So we need more information on this one.
Okay.
Would it make sense to table it and get some information from the attorney on
Yeah, like,
why we, just to clarify what the goal is here?
Yeah.
And then if there is a separate goal, maybe to draft it in a more clear way.
That makes sense to
Yep.
me.
yeah.
All right. So those 4 will be tabled.
Alright.
2024. All right.
Oh, yeah.
Any questions on that one?
I had a question. So we've got this controversial issues in the classroom. Again, it's kind of vague, vague language. Is there, Richard, any, so when it talks about, I'm in it says the board, the ABCD, the board will permit the introduction and proper educational use of controversial issues, provided that the use in the instructional program, A, is related to the instructional goals of the course's study and the level of maturity of the students. B, does not tend to indoctrinate or persuade the students to a particular point of view. That's kind of vague. And then encourages open-mindedness, okay. Is there, I don't know if anyone's ever asked you this before, but is there a way to clarify this a little bit, maybe in a, kind of using the legal concept of viewpoint neutrality, where, you know, because we don't want controversial topics to be out of the classroom. We want the students to be familiar with, you know, both sides of difficult issues and to think on their own, right? But we want it presented in a viewpoint neutral way.
So if we scroll down a little bit, the sentence starts, the paragraph, 2 paragraphs after D says controversials, the one after that. When controversial issues have not been specified in the course of study, in other words, in your curriculum, the board, meaning the district, will permit the instructional use of only those issues which have been approved by the principal. So, again, when it's part of the curriculum, that's one thing, because that's board approved. But when something comes in that's not part of, oftentimes, a social studies course, I mean, you can even have biology and talking about evolution, you know, as people have talked about it in that sense. But that's part of the course of study. If they come out of anywhere else, the principal, as in the administration, has to be notified, and then it goes by your administration rules. I know in our case, the principal would then consult with the curriculum director or the superintendent, and, you know, anyway, it would kind of go through that chain of command. And then the paragraph after that is, a lot of that is your own Cedarburg language. In the discussion of any controversial issue in the classroom or in the course of professional duties, a teacher must make every effort to remain impartial so as not to appear to be pressuring or persuading students to adopt a certain point of view, maintaining a level of objectivity about controversial issues while considering multiple perspectives in a balanced manner is a professional responsibility of all educators. That's Cedarburg language.
Okay, so we did that already.
Yeah.
Okay, good, thank you.
There's an
There's an
AG that goes with this administrative guideline, Dave, that's
Yeah.
pretty detailed as well.
Okay.
That gets into critical
Good,
thinking.
good.
Yeah, it seems to cover everything that you're suggesting.
I'm just asking then, if we have this language here, why do we have to have the board will permit and then the A, B, C, and D? Because, I mean, under B, does not tend to indoctrinate, that not tend is very, again, open to interpretation.
Sure is, it's vague.
Where we say teachers, we say in our paragraph, maintaining, where did we say it? I just read it.
Well, part of what ABCD you're trying to do is you're saying there that if it's in the course of study, you'll allow it. So now you're giving some, ABCD gives some guidance for, okay, if you want to put a controversial into the curriculum, what are the criteria? ABCD give the criteria so that
But
it
to
can
get it,
be included in the curriculum.
yeah, to get it into the curriculum, though, it has to be approved by the curriculum committee, so this would be stuff that's already approved, or?
Well, the idea is that the board is giving its guidance to the curriculum committee. I mean, this is a policy statement
Right.
about, you know,
Got
what
it,
you're
okay.
going to allow, what you're not going to allow. And again, back to your question before, what happens if a different board member gets on and tries to hijack something or whatever else? That's why you have these guidelines in place to give that kind of board stamp of approval as how we're doing things, until a different majority comes along and changes it.
Under B though, do we have to have that word tend in there?
Well, maybe you want to say is not intended to indoctrinate?
They gotta prove intent.
10 is basically saying does not like sway,
Okay.
does not.
Does not indoctrinate, just
It's a
10?
weird word.
But what does indoctrinate mean? I mean, it's all with, very imprecise.
Yeah, 'cause
Well,
like.
I guess the whole thing is you want to maintain neutrality.
Mhm.
Right.
So you probably want to say, is presented in a neutral, is it presented in a neutral way, and not from a particular point of view.
We kind of say that down below, right? That was kind of what I was.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but up
Yeah.
above, you're talking
Yeah.
about the instructional goals of, you're trying to get to the point, B is really all about keeping it neutral.
Yeah.
That's really
Yeah.
what B is. I mean, D is you don't want substantial disruption. C is all about that critical thinking, open-mindedness. A is all about, it's gotta have something to do with the course. But where do you say in A, B, C, D that it really should be presented in a neutral way? And that's what B is, and you don't like the way that's worded, so I was just trying to come up with
I'm fine with
a
taking
way
out
of
not.
getting across neutrality.
Yeah, not tend to indoctrinate, we could take that out, cause essentially, you're saying the same thing by not persuading students to a particular point of view.
I like keeping that. The indoctrinate is sort of.
A little bit more intense.
I don't know. I'm not exactly sure. I mean, I've got an idea what it means, and people might have different interpretations of what it means.
Mhm.
It's a little more than persuading students to a particular
It is.
point of view.
Mhm.
But I'm not sure.
Basically saying to not be critical thinkers.
Yeah, I think so. Right. Yeah. Right, because you're
Mhm.
having them
Just believe it
believe
without
this
thinking
because they
it.
said so, and
Mhm.
all of the yeah.
So, I mean, it is,
So maybe we just leave it alone. I don't know.
does not, maybe just does not indoctrinate. Cause 10-2 is trying to say like, doesn't like lean towards indoctrinating, but like,
Yeah.
it's either you do or you don't.
Yeah, maybe we
You
just
either
take
critically
out-
think about it or you
yeah.
don't critically think about it.
Yeah, maybe we just take out 10-2.
Yeah. This is getting down into
I
some
would be good with that.
linguistics.
Cause I don't wanna say intend, because then you gotta, you
Well,
got
that's,
an intent issue.
yeah, that's a
and,
loophole out, yeah.
that's a-
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Good?
Yeah.
Richard's quiet though.
Yeah,
That's
I don't
what
like
it's
the word of
No,
neutral.
no. You're the board, I'm just, that's fine. I think that
Yeah.
you're there. The whole idea is that you want it to be neutral. It's not even a matter of presenting both sides. You can present both sides, but do it in a very slanted way. What you're trying to do is just maintain neutrality, is what that's really trying to express.
Exactly. Right,
Um,
and critical thinking.
Yeah, so the only thing is like, obviously the green is new, did we add that, or was that Neola? Teachers are expected to, sorry, that paragraph, yeah, teachers are expected to serve as exemplars for
Neola.
students by demonstrating good judgment as professionals when discussing issues in the classroom. It's not about it's like more, I don't know, just seems weird wording, like, you should be doing a good job as a teacher and teaching kids to be critical thinkers. So it's less about, I mean, I guess they're demonstrating it if they're modeling it. I don't know, I just don't understand like what they're trying to say there.
Well, remember, this is language based upon the other Neola language you don't have. So
Yeah.
it was trying to fill in some blanks, and your own language there, before the green, kind of says it, and
Right.
might say it in a way that you don't need that. You probably want to keep the second green sentence, the classroom should not be used as
I
a
agree.
forum
I don't
for
think we need
employment
that
issues,
first
but
one.
you might want to take out the first one.
Yeah,
It
I
might
agree.
not be necessary for you.
No,
Makes
because we already
sense.
say it and we make it more, I think, clearer. Professional manner, balance, multiple perspectives, like to me that makes more sense.
So we're just taking this out here
Yeah,
Yeah.
and keeping the
Yep.
last line?
yeah.
Sounds good.
And we keep as is, right?
Oh, is that when we're skipping?
The ADA.
No, 22 60, is that one we can't change?
Yeah, that's
right?
as is, right?
Correct, I think.
And then 01 as
Yes.
well?
And one, yep, and then 2266.
2266.
This is the Title IX policy that at the end of the Trump administration, they came out with new rules, and now the Biden administration is going through rulemaking that in a couple of years, they'll come out to change the rules for something else. So meanwhile, this is the law of the land for the next few years.
Okay, so we basically just adopting whatever the regs are here.
Yeah.
Okay, can't really do anything with that, right?
2430.
I just had a question, why would we put, where was it? I can't, no, this isn't working the way, it's me, it's not my mouse. Why do we add the word competitive for extracurricular activities? I was just confused by that, why wouldn't it just be extracurricular activities?
Good catch.
It was,
No, I don't know. You could certainly take that out.
Yeah, I think we do that.
Second paragraph after E.
Well, what they're talking about is such activities up above, and they're also trying to differentiate between Spanish club and athletics. And as soon as they said Spanish club as well as athletics, then they always also try to say, yeah, but we have things like debate and forensics, which are also competitive even though they're not athletics.
Right.
So that's why they put in a competitive modifier, because the above activities as well as those competitive sports and other activities. That's why it's in there, but
I used to coach the.
trying to differentiate those.
I just didn't know.
Leave it in, take it out?
Yeah, we're going through a conversation right in the district right now, delineating between clubs and extracurriculars that are competitive.
Oh, so there
And
is like
trying
a
to
difference.
delineate between
Yeah.
a club which doesn't have a competition
Right.
and all these others that do. And what, and if you don't have a competition, is it, do we allow you to participate in the activity during the school day? And if a competition implies that there's some level of, I don't know what you'd call it.
Reason to leave the district.
Yeah, and you're
Yeah.
going through a
Something
series to
right
get
now.
to the ultimate competition,
Yeah.
world robotics, whatever it would be.
Right.
Clubs don't necessarily have that sequencing, and so we're trying to delineate and stop or reduce clubs from taking off during the day to go on a club-like activity that doesn't lead to a competition.
I'm not hearing anything.
You can't hear us?
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
So we should just make sure it's parallel to what you're doing.
I think leaving it in helps us,
Yeah.
is what I'm saying.
Okay, I just didn't know.
No, it's a good question, Laura,
Can you hear us now?
Can you hear me?
Well, I'm gonna take a quick bio break while
You
you
can't hear me, Richard?
Oh, yeah, wanna take a little
Give
break?
a little bio break, can we do that?
Recess?
Okay.
Sure, if you want to.
Do we have to
do that.
do a vote or anything, or can I just?
Nah, just go.
Go to the
with
restroom.
recess.
That's perfect time.
8:03.
It's probably fair to ask how, I mean, given we have so many policies, it may be fair to ask how long do we wanna go?
Yeah,
Like,
what do you
wanna
think?
go another half hour to get?
Let's do that.
A 2-hour meeting is
Let's
probably.
do another half hour.
Brenda, do you have a key for the staff?
I do.
I mean, I could get my stuff too.
So maybe we'll get as far as
Can
we
you
can.
hear me now,
Yeah,
Richard?
yeah. We'll just do
Can
2
you
hours.
hear me?
trying to do
No?
the whole thing.
Okay.
I mean, I can hear me.
Did you call back?
No, I just have them on my thingy thing here.
Is that we use the phone number on that though, isn't it?
Yeah, but I hung that up.
So let's call him back.
Okay.
You got his number?
Uh-oh, he hung up. This is the number here.
What's his number?
Can you hear me?
You have to dial 8.
You can't hear me.
You have to dial
You have to dial 8 and then 1. I can hear you. Okay, can you hear me? Can you hear me? No. Can you hear me? Yes. Okay, Todd is going to, I'm gonna mute my computer so we can get you back on the phone system. We think the phone system might have timed out.
Wonder which button is the call button on it?
Yeah, that
Red
one, I
button.
haven't learned to
Oh,
use
yeah.
that one.
Oh, that's the hang up button.
It's the same thing. You want me to do it? No, you just push the red one, and then the dial.
That's what I did.
Doesn't work?
Wait, don't you
There
have
it
to
goes,
push,
it's working.
don't you have to push and connect somewhere?
No,
Like, no?
it's a regular phone. When you stop dialing, it'll call. Better.
Didn't seem like it's.
Otherwise, yeah, it's not working. What's going on?
I was wondering if it's tied into the network, so
So what does that mean?
you could probably just put him on your,
He's not gonna be able to hear anybody
I
though.
bet you could hear quite a bit. I've run
Can
meetings,
call?
pretty big meetings off on my laptop.
So you should be able to hear a beep, 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 beep.
While all this is going on, so.
Or if you unplug the phone and replug it, kinda like when you boot a computer,
Rebooting.
that may do it.
Ted, I have a question for you that you probably can answer, we went by, I forgot. So there was one
He is
section
on.
that talked about service
I just
animals.
have him muted because otherwise we're
And
getting major feedback.
There's somewhere in there that we wouldn't bring in emotional support animals.
Correct.
Okay,
There's
I
the dog,
figured.
How long
which
did she
is
manage
in
to
the
Well,
stay
right,
in
cause
for?
we have that in our industry where we're just.
Was she shocked?
Right.
We were all
There's a
shocked.
process of doing service animals,
On the phone,
where it does
like-
determine what service it is, how it fits all that.
Okay, I
Yeah.
figured that. Okay, thank you.
Enjoy it while you can.
It's so crazy, like, I just can't, my brain just can't.
You blink and they're big.
Just,
Oh, it's crazy, I
so
know.
crazy. I don't know, it's amazing. She stood the other day, yesterday, for the first time. She was crawling on me and she just like let go and was standing there. I was like, oh my god, she stood.
Are you doing the thing where you walk around?
Yeah. Trying. Well, it's funny, we just traveled out to visit family in Washington State, and I think she just like learned so much on this little trip that she came back like a different baby. It was so,
Wow.
I don't know, it's cool.
It's
All very neat.
amazing.
It is, like, I don't have the right words for it. It's all exciting, new.
Positive words.
Yeah. But, we could fly because she wasn't walking yet. Ooh, I don't know how you can fly with a toddler. She was moving enough and she was just crawling. So, that was cute.
Your carry-on baby.
My carry-on baby, yeah. Carry-on, yeah. I was a little sore too. Oh, man. That shape. It was really cute.
There you go. Restart the machine.
What's going on, Todd?
I know, right? Didn't pay a phone bill.
Thank you. You're joining a call with two other people.
8:30?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. That sounds lovely.
Can you hear us, Richard?
Yes, I can.
Yay!
Okay.
So it must time out, that's weird.
We're back.
Brother. Right, to recess at 8:03.
All right, recess is over, we're back in session.
All right, where were we?
24:30?
We're
24:30. Yes, competitive. We're talking about.
Oh, yeah. So we're gonna keep it to be.
I think we should.
Right.
Here.
So on to the next one.
All right, so 24:31.
anything?
I did. I just had a question. So who is the district administrator for this policy? Is it the equivalent of John Hannum or? who-
Good catch.
Should say superintendent.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was.
So that's a Neola,
Oh.
yeah, we didn't catch that.
No, we should have.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
They call district administrators and we call it superintendent,
Okay,
so
that
we.
is,
And I
We-
tried to change all of them, but I missed that one.
okay.
You got the board ones, what are the ones they usually do with the board? The board of directors, or
Oh,
what do
yeah.
they say?
Education versus school board.
Yeah,
School
that
board
was,
and, yeah.
yeah.
And
Okay.
I saw one other thing, where is it, let me see. Where, it says something about, okay, for eight, and this isn't a change, it just caught my eye, cause it says, each participant shall submit to a thorough physical examination by a district-approved physician. I mean, we don't have
Oh,
district-approved
yeah.
physicians, do we? I mean,
No.
wouldn't that just be a licensed medical doctor? I don't, you know.
Yeah,
That's a good catch.
yeah.
Is that what we mean by district approved? Just a licensed?
Yeah, do we
Yes.
define that?
Yeah, define in the law what a medical provider is, so that would be, you would.
We
so
have a definition for that?
Yeah, that's in definitions, it's you know, an MD, a DO. There's like actually a federal definition of what qualifies as a qualified medical professional.
So should we say qualified medical professional, or should we say district approved physician?
You could say qualified medical professional. What do you think about that, Richard?
Yeah, what matches our laws? Or our definition?
Yeah, because a lot of times it's not a physician anymore, it's a, you know, a nurse practitioner or a physician's assistant. So a lot of times people are talking about, a person licensed in the state with prescriptive authority. So when you say district approved, that makes it easier because then you can say whatever you wanna say.
So you like my
Oh.
qualified medical professional? Is what you're saying?
Yeah, what's wrong with qualified medical professional?
Well, you can, it's just who's qualified, who is, determining they're qualified.
But we define that, right?
Is
I thought it was defined under federal law what a qualified medical professional is. Maybe not.
We'll just leave it.
That's fine. That leaves us the ability to say, we don't think this qualifies.
And we don't have
We'll
to.
leave it in.
Yeah, leave it in.
We don't have to like.
Are you okay
approve.
with that, Laura?
Yeah, as
Well,
long
the
as
American
someone.
Medical Association, has a definition.
True.
But then we'd be fighting like whose definition, so yeah.
Yeah.
But we have it listed who we would approve.
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
We don't even really, I think have a list, we just like, if it's some.
I think that's it, Lee, if it's something that we really have questions about, whether they really are an authority to make such a determination, we could say, probably
To,
not.
Gives us an out.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
2701.
I had nothing.
All right.
Right.
The 2000s are done.
300s, 3120.
Oh, that's just, we eliminated a paragraph because it would be covered in the board member conduct, right?
Mhm. Correct.
Okay. What's the next one? Does anyone else, like, what's the next one people have here? 31, anything at 3120, 04?
I had something under 3122, but that's, I said something, it says something age appropriate for support staff, and I didn't know why the word age appropriate would be in there, but I don't know, it's just,
I think that's the ones we can't touch, right?
okay,
That looks to be all federal.
okay.
And, okay, so that one's a no touch. 312202, is that also, that's also a non-touch, right? That's the genetic thing, yeah,
No
okay.
discrimination ones, non-discrimination.
Non-discrimination, disability, that's gonna be the same, right?
Correct.
Okay. And then 3170 is gone. Anyone object? 3125. 3125, anyone have anything there?
I don't see a 3125.
I mean, 3215.
3215?
Oh, that's what I meant, that's the dyslexia again,
That's
sorry.
what I thought you meant.
Yep.
Yeah, that's easy.
Okay, 30. Does anyone have anything in the remaining 3,000s?
I just thought some wording was weird in 3216.
Okay, let's take a look at that.
The board authorizes the development of standards for staff dress and grooming that promote a professional educational atmosphere that gives consideration to the impact on the educational process and the diversity of the district's for staff.
That's weird.
I know, I feel like you're right, that seems so strange. I mean, I guess I understand what they're trying to say. Standards.
What are they trying to say there, Richard?
Well, what it's trying to do is authorize the superintendent and the administration to create dress and grooming standards
I'm sure it's fine.
for the district staff.
Yeah.
So that's, because the board is not creating those are
Right.
done by the superintendent
Yeah.
and the administrative team.
Yeah.
What does it mean to give consideration to the impact of educational process and the diversity of the district staff?
Well, the diversity of the district staff is trying to honor the fact that there are different cultures among your staff members and different traditions, and that not everybody dresses
Got it,
exactly the
okay.
same.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Got it, that makes sense, okay.
This word thing's weird.
Just the diversity word is weird, yeah. You could probably mean, that's broad, that's good, okay. Anything else on the 30s?
We have to talk about the grievance procedure, because that was tabled at the last
Yeah, I
committee
thought so.
meeting. You wanted us to reach out to legal.
Oh,
Yep.
33.
About this part right here.
And then 3240,
Yeah.
let's double check.
And there, spoke to council and they advised that we could charge a fee, but that may also lead to, would help a frivolous, that somebody would
Yeah.
frivolously ask for an appeal or a hearing. But they said that they would keep it to about $100.
Oh.
That wouldn't be seen as too harsh or too, as a way to like squash,
Yeah.
the
Right.
appeal, by charging many thousands versus
Yeah.
$100. That they said a fee a reasonable fee would be viewed by an administrative law judge
Yeah.
as appropriate.
Cause it's mainly meant to just not have any silliness.
Some skin in the game.
Some skin
Yeah,
in the game,
yeah, yeah.
that they really
Yeah.
want this versus,
Sure.
I'm just gonna roll the dice and see if I can get something to stick.
Sure. So how are we gonna word
Now-
that here?
Skin in the
Now, although I agree with you on principle, I need to say that this was just discussed at our meeting last week. Another question that I raised, so I can give you an answer. And the attorney, and again, attorneys have different viewpoints. The two firms that Neola uses came to the conclusion that because the grievance procedure is a specific right granted to school district employees as part of the whole Act 10 piece, that to charge them a fee to access a right that is written into the statutes could be very problematic for the district, and would probably, you can end up with a real constitutional challenge there. So they advised, it was up for consideration to include that option, and they resoundingly said, no, we cannot stand by that, the warranty on that, because it's very likely to be challenged and overturned by the courts. So you can do what you want, but I just wanted to let you know that Neola looked at that and decided that it would probably not withstand a legal challenge. Now, if your attorneys say go ahead and do it, then by all means, do what you want.
They couldn't find any supporting case law on it right now, so to say whether it would stick or not, or if it was challenged, what it would be upheld on, but they said that they would keep, if the board chose, they would keep the amount small, but they said having no fee is appropriate as well.
Yeah, the Neola version they were looking at was $100.
Right.
So just skin in the game, but in the end, they decided that would not to do it. So again, you can do what you like. I just wanted to speak up and let you know that Neola looked at that and how they came down on it.
So it's board's discretion, you asked us to look at that, and that's what our attorney.
Was
came
it
back with.
for the original grievance? Is that what we were saying?
We're on the appeal.
It was the appeal, right? It wasn't for the grievance itself,
It was for.
right?
It's the hearing, right, hearing before,
It's for the hearing officer.
right.
Not the, oh, okay, so not the appeal, the hearing officer. So we're paying the fee for the hearing officer, is what you're saying?
Right.
Yeah.
And and your people are saying that if, an aggrieved employee, has to pay the fee or part of the fee, that then they would claim that they were being withheld the right to, have the hearing?
So any fees
that
or
what-
costs?
They were being denied their right that's in the statutes to file a grievance.
Got it.
Because all these steps are outlined in the statute.
All right, and the statute is silent on the fee thing, right?
Correct. It says, because of that, it's less likely to raise due process concerns or an appearance that the process is too costly for the employee to realistically pursue the appeal.
So this is one of those cases where the attorney, and it's never
Yeah.
gone to court, it's never been challenged, so the school attorneys in Wisconsin are split on this, that's all. And Neola probably takes a more conservative approach because again, it has a warranty on all these and will provide the free legal defense if challenged and wants to make sure that it's gonna win. So, if you're willing to go out on the skinny branches a bit, and do that, then, and your attorney say, go for it, then go for it.
No, she's cautioning against it, but says a small fee, yeah.
So Neola says district pays for it. Did we have split and then we decided to make it, they paid for it?
Yes.
Okay.
How often does this come up?
I know, it can't be very.
Not very often, not.
Once every couple of years?
Yeah, I think, to be honest with you, I think if we just say district pays for it, we take away any chance of it coming up as a due process.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
So
Especially with
for $100, is
nonprofit.
that really gonna make the difference?
No. No,
All right,
back to $100.
Okay.
I mean, we
No.
pay for it.
We pay for it, yeah.
Alright. So then we might be done with the 3,000s.
and then if it ever becomes an issue, then we can.
We
Right.
can revisit it,
Right.
yeah. It sounds like Neola's gonna bring that back at a later time anyway and advise against charging, so we're ahead of Neola.
That never happens.
Alright, 4120, you wanna keep going?
So,
Yeah, hold on just a second, I wanna make a note
Oh, yeah.
here, 3340.
That one's tabled.
yeah,
What, 3340 is not tabled, right?
no,
No.
no,
Goodbye. Oh, well, gotcha, sorry.
yeah.
Okay, sorry, alright, I'm back. So we're at the 4,000s?
Yes, 4120.
Anyone have anything?
Oh, yeah, no, that's the relative one.
I don't have
Wait.
anything in the 40s except for the, yeah, we can't do anything about the ones I had questions about, we just can't, so.
Hate speech one,
Yeah.
harassment.
Right, exactly, we already
No,
have,
tabled.
well, we have the
That
one,
one's tabled.
we have the one tabled, which is, 4362.
Correct.
And then 4122 and 4123 is just regulatory language, right? So we can't do anything with that, and we understand it, so that's good. Anything else in the fours from anyone?
Is the relative, the employment and support staff, see how they obviously we tweak the language. So employment of substitutes, relatives of board members, no, relatives of staff members, okay. But then, looks like it's is it moved for employment of support staff for 4120? We took out, we took out relative of board members, but do we have it in there, support staff? Sorry.
You mean, did we put it back in?
Not back in, but back in the way it's worded under 4120.04. So if you go to 4120.04 real quick, see how relatives of board members may be employed, blah, 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 but then it was tweaked to relatives of staff members may be employed by the district. I'm not seeing that in support staff.
Right, do you see that, Richard?
Or is that on purpose? Or am I
Yeah,
just-
that's interesting. Yeah, just copy and paste it in.
Copy and paste it in.
Huh, nice catch.
I don't think it's in there.
No, I don't think so.
Oh, cool.
No, it's not in there anywhere else.
Oh, okay.
Good catch.
Nothing else in the fours, right?
Yeah, that was an option in the template, and for some reason it was not selected when we did that, so. Yeah.
Someone's sleeping on the job.
Alright, we were gonna adjourn at 8:30,
Oh, yeah.
and since we're at 5,000, we may as well stop at
Perfect.
it was a good stopping point, right?
It is.
And I have 5 policies that you've tabled.
Yeah, so we've
This
got.
would be all
yeah.
the,
There's 3 of them that are.
0144.3,
Yep,
1662,
yes,
3362.
Yep.
4362.
Correct.
5517.
yes,
5517?
yes.
Yeah, it's a anti-harassment for
I think
the
that's the same.
student.
Oh, it's like, we didn't get, okay, yeah.
Should we try to look at our calendars and?
Yes, we should.
Dave,
Is there anything urgent in here, Ted?
Yeah.
I don't believe so, Richard, anything that we would need to get done soon, for lack of a better word?
Probably bring it in next month.
We could.
Well, Dave, the last policy on here, on the sheet.
I don't think
I
so.
didn't give him the sheet.
Oh,
Okay.
there are a couple of, I don't say, urgent, but I think they do impact, district practice, so it'd be best, like, there's the email policy on here, Ted, the district issued staff email.
Oh, yeah, we
Talked
talked about that a
that.
couple times.
Why don't we just go to that one and carve that one out, and since it's urgent, let's look at that.
7540.
06.
106.
So this wasn't in, yeah, this,
Yeah,
Right.
oh, yeah, definitely, yep. I didn't.
So that's not in the draft?
It is.
yeah, it is, it's 7540.06.
I've got a typo on
You
that
gotta
one.
go to the, oh, okay, got it in my phone.
Yeah, there's a typo on that one.
Right.
So we've gone over this one like.
We had,
time.
and you had asked the attorney just to provide some
Yeah.
clarification and make certain that the, guideline was, supported by policy, and there's a nice line of sight there, and that's what
Good.
was provided. Is that accurate, Ted?
Correct.
Yep.
So you see the additionally sentence,
Mm-hmm.
I've got a space needed between
I see it, the
dot
district,
and districts.
thank you.
Yeah.
You may want to capitalize district.
Oh, yeah.
And down below also, the next line. Fourth word in, yeah, right there.
Thank you.
What were you thinking, Ted didn't come back in a month and this is the?
Yeah, it sounds like
Yeah, or a couple
Kristen
weeks,
said
a month,
November, you said that would be.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm just looking
let's look at the
Yeah,
calendar.
we would get them on the board agenda before Thanksgiving.
Yeah, cause we have,
Yeah, what works for you guys?
So this one's okay, this,
The
with
first
those
Yeah,
reasons?
yeah, put that on the list for.
yeah, first week in November works for me. first or second week, maybe that first week. So we have our board meeting on the 17th of November.
Correct.
Can we, do you think, get answers
Or-
on those things from the lawyer? Yeah, we should be able to.
By then,
Yeah.
no, absolutely.
So I could maybe do next week, or the week, and then the week after. we're going to-
That's right, the first week of November's next week.
Yeah.
Is it really?
No,
No,
it's
2 weeks
close.
away.
Very close.
Not next week, but the
2
week
weeks
after.
from today is the second
Yeah.
already.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Crazy. I don't know if we wanna do 2 meetings next week, but we could just do 2 and be done, and then have nothing that first week of November.
Richard, you could probably go if you want.
Well, he would need to
But
be.
you don't
Yeah,
want
he
to.
needs
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Oh, yeah.
We need you.
Oh, yeah, we need to.
Never mind.
I am not available the first week of November,
Oh, so next week maybe?
if that makes a difference.
Okay, so
It
we-
does, we need you.
Yeah, the
We
week of
need
the
you, yeah.
8th then, right?
Yeah, I will be, recovering from surgery, so,
Oh, oh no.
yeah, well, it'll all work out okay, I'm
Good.
confident. I just,
All right, there's a B and G meeting on Tuesday.
yeah.
So we
Could do Wednesday,
yeah, the 10th,
could do Wednesday,
maybe?
6:30,
That work for everyone?
Or does that work for you?
The 10th?
Wednesday the 10th?
Richard, does that work for you?
The 10th, November 10th?
yeah, Wednesday the 10th is good,
All right.
yep.
Excellent,
Good call.
all right, excellent, thank you.
So 6:30, I was saying?
Yeah.
6:30.
And you'll
I'll send you an invite, Richard.
Hi.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay,
Adjourn.
anyone else?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
So we're gonna bring these, I'm sorry to interrupt, we'll take these policies forward to Wednesday.
Yes,
then.
oh,
Yeah.
oh, that's right,
Yeah.
no, we have to make a
Oh,
motion
whoops, yeah, we do need to make a
to,
motion.
I need a motion to forward the, policies that we covered and did not table, to the full board for, approval.
Move, or, oh my god, my brain just froze on me. I would like to make that motion as stated.
I'll second it.
All right, was that sufficient?
Yeah.
We good?
Cause
Okay.
you'll list them
Whoever
out.
knows, Yep.
Motion
Yeah.
and a second, all in favor? Aye, any opposed? Motion carries. It's unanimously, and now we'll entertain your other motion, Ms. Hadley.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? None? Your turn. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard, very much.
Thank you, Richard.
Thank you. Good luck on surgery.
Okay,
Yeah, good luck. Have a good night.
bye, thanks.